Money Radio, discussing the business of making and spending money.
So, warm welcome to you from the beautiful city of Abuja to today's edition of Money Radio. This is the energy focus segment of the program, and my name is Case Hammond. I am in the studio with Mr. Anthony Uko. So, you're welcome to today's program.
Thank you.
Yes, and once it's in this studio, you can rest assured you get the best of analysis as long as it's pertaining to energy. So, the topic we're discussing today is utilizing energy for economic productivity in the Agric value chain. So it's our in-house analyst. So you're welcome again.
Thank you.
Yes. With this topic, we're talking about utilizing energy, add value to Agric. Energy produced is nothing as long as it's not put into productive use. The federal government, through the Rural Electrification Agency, has actually just launched the the energy energizing agriculture program, right? Yes, that energizing agriculture program. Yes. So we want to discuss that today. How is energy going to be utilized through the Rural Electrification Agency? So,
Yes, if we look at Nigeria's GDP, we see that agriculture contributes over 20%.
yes,
It
around
was
21,
26,
26, yes.
26% as at the last quarter of 2021. And even at that level, it had gone, it was a decline over what it did in the previous quarter, though it showed a slight increase over on the year-on-year level.
Yeah.
But what that indicates is that agriculture plays a very key role in the economy in terms of growth, particularly for the rural communities,
Yes.
rural areas.
That's where agriculture is practiced.
Yes, where the focus of the Rural Electrification Agency has plays its key role.
Yeah.
And so, as a result of that, the agency looked at it that it's not just enough to provide electricity for the rural areas, the off-grid areas where they have to utilize renewable more often. And if this energy that is being provided is not tied into increasing productivity, then they may not really know what to do with it, how to utilize it to ensure that their livelihood is improved. They may just continue, maybe they will see it that it's only for them to use and light up their homes. They will not tie it, they will not be able to on their own tie it to the work they do, and to see how they can improve it, how they can move away from the manual means of doing most of this uh, farming procedures and all that, into using electricity to enhance it, and then putting in little labor and then much productivity. And so that is what the Rural Electrification Agency saw, and then went into launching the Energizing Agricultural Programme.
All right. Well said. As you were speaking, something just flashed in my mind, and it's this. I see, much of rural Nigeria is into growing food,
Yeah.
just growing food. But when it comes to areas such as poultry, our rural people, our rural farmers usually don't get into, let me call it a mechanized poultry.
Yes.
Let me
Mm.
use that word, mechanized poultry. Many of our rural farmers are
Mm.
not engaged in mechanized poultry. It's just they are growing chickens, these native fowl
Mm.
that will just get up in the morning,
Mm.
go picking the soil for
Yes.
their own food. But when
Yes.
it comes to producing eggs,
Mm.
producing layers, I don't
Mm.
think our people in the villages are much into that. Now, probably this has been as a result of inability to generate heat, because when you are producing mechanized poultry, you need heat. That's why you see even in our towns where poultry is being invested in, they always have light,
Mm.
because the chickens don't survive cold.
Mm.
Yes. So is that what specifically is that this program geared towards?
Yes, the REA is in partnership with a number of key agencies, and for the 2022 agro energy programs, they have highlighted uh, basically two areas that they intend to look into, and one of them is the agro processing, um,
Okay.
the agro processing, and this in the areas of provision of um, agro processing clusters. The provision of solar mini grids, and then to power processing centers where the rural farmers can come together, and then they will be able to process rice milling, tomatoes, wheat, and other basic um, food items.
Yeah.
And then as a result of this, not just would they go through the normal manual process of milling rice, which takes a long time, and at the end of the day, the output is not it doesn't meet the rising standards that we have right now
Yes.
with, with the industrialized um, rice milling
Yeah.
around. And so as a result of that, they are not able to earn so much from it. And some of them just plant the rice. They are not able to mill, or they just mill the little quantity that they can eat within them. So to them, it's still subsistence farming. But with this, with the Energizing Agro program, they will be able to bring them together, provide electricity, and then put them through the things that how they can utilize this electricity to ensure that they they do more with their farming activities. And secondly, in the area of irrigation,
Okay.
more often we find the farmers engaging in farming at certain times um, during the year. They are not able to undertake year-round farming. So they plant at certain times. Then when the rain stops, they stop planting and all of that. So this ensures that what this does is that they are not able to keep working all year round, and they are not able to produce all the time, and then it limits the amount of money they make and all that. So with this,
I should assume storage is a major aspect of it.
well, it's still something that is unfolding. Um, Under this solar scheme, what they have outlined here is provide irrigation to farmers with centralized solar power pumps to grow crops all year round.
That's
And so,
great.
yeah, with that, they are able to, water their plants through solar powered irrigation, and that keeps them farming, producing all year round.
That's great. It sounds laudable. Yeah, and it's something one can appreciate. At least the federal government is thinking in this direction, and it makes sense because, um, as you've just explained it, it's going to improve agriculture or increase productivity in agricultural value chain. But having said that, how much electricity is the REA, the Rural Electrification Agency, how much of electricity is it generating now, and how much does it intend to generate in the future to make sure that all of this is accomplished?
Oh, the plan is that by 2030, the renewable power will be able to provide 30% of total power usage in the country.
In the country, not just in
Yes.
rural
No,
electrification.
of course, that means that the REA is primarily mandated to service the areas that are not serviced by the grid,
Yes,
by the national grid, the
exactly.
off-grid areas.
Yes.
So specifically, that the rural areas comes within their area of mandate. So, but on generally, their own provision is within this 30% of grid and 70% grid that is looked at
Yeah.
by 2030.
I'm thinking if, okay, let me put it this way. Much of the electricity provided in Nigeria is consumed by urban Nigeria.
Yeah.
And we can at least say this because let's put one or two statistics together. More than 50% of Nigerians, about close to 60% of Nigerians live in cities. Yes. And if we have 70% being produced by or being consumed by
Mm.
um, city people,
Yeah.
yes, it makes sense. That means that 30% that is left out being consumed by rural Nigerians. And rural Nigerians, we can rest assured that they don't produce or they don't consume enough, too much of
Yeah.
electricity.
Mm.
Yes, they don't consume too much. What do they have to consume? Maybe bulbs.
Mm.
What else? Fan, maybe during. But these people have natural air. They don't
Yes.
really consume so much of electricity. So I am assuming or I am imagining that much of rural Nigeria will have been covered
Mm.
or being supplied electricity or yes, supplied adequate electricity so that at least for them, last time I was in contact with the REA, I was made to understand that they produce enough and their power, something around 64% that has been covered by REA, supplying electricity to rural Nigeria. And with that, I think this 2030 you are talking about was a target they were having to supply rural Nigeria with electricity. With that in mind, and of course, during that encounter, they said this is steady power 24/7. steady power, uninterrupted electricity supply. So, with this in mind, if 30% of power generated in a country going to rural Nigeria, we can assume that by then they will have what it takes. There will be electricity sufficient,
Yeah. Of course. Yes, it's
better than you or I, because even in your area, I can assume you.
of course, many of the rural areas are beginning more or less. And these programs are they also work in collaboration with the state governments
Yes,
to ensure that the rural areas in those states are covered. And from their own study, they've come to say that this electricity, they are doing much in the area of ensuring that the rural areas have light. But what are they actually using them to do? If you do not begin to channel them, help them to use this electricity productively,
yeah,
then you would have provided so much electricity, and they will have little uses for them.
yes, got you.
And
That's an
yes,
important point you just made.
yes, and at the end of the day, there'll be electricity in those areas,
But being
but
wasted.
being wasted, and
Yeah.
productivity will remain low.
No, great. You have a great point there. We'll discuss that. Let's take a breather. When we come back from a short break, we will look at how the sense in not allowing this electricity to be wasted. Stay tuned, listeners.
For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.
Money Radio, discussing the business of making and spending money.
Welcome back, viewers. You're still on to Money Radio on Leadership TV, and this is the energy focus segment of the program. Still with me in the studio is our in-house analyst, Mr. Anthony Kuko. Thanks for remaining here with us. And I remain Case Harmon, your presenter. So we're talking about how we can add value to agriculture using electricity. And that's what we were discussing just before we went on that break. Now, so you were making an important point, and it's the fact that much electricity is being produced rurally, and by 2030, at least rural Nigeria will have been covered sufficiently. I'm quoting the REA. At least I have heard this from them. So Nigeria will have been covered, rural Nigeria will have been covered sufficiently by 2030. So it makes sense, economic sense, not having this power generated and just being wasted. Now, there are many crops that are produced seasonally in the country. And this is what the federal government wants to curb or at least reduce. Yes, they want to reduce it by making sure that with this power that is, yes, you can have irrigation pumps powered by solar panels. So, just would you mind discussing a little more on that issue? Because as you spoke about it, it made so much sense to me.
Yes, of course. Like you've pointed out, there are seasonal crops, and um, when these crops are in, when it is their season, you find so much of it around. But the moment it is the season is off, they become scarce,
Yes, I want to give an
and
example.
they become expensive.
They become expensive. I want to give an example. Are you aware that Nigeria imports hundreds of millions of dollars worth of corn every year? This maize that we see on the streets like this.
Yeah.
What do we use it for? To feed our poultry.
Yes.
But we don't produce enough. We produce far less than we consume.
Mhm.
So apart from what we just see on the streets that we eat, of course that is seasonal also.
Yes.
But if we're able to produce this all year
all
round,
year round.
it will make sense because our chicks will be able to feed on the corn, and then we wouldn't have to import that much. So it makes sense.
Yes, and not only will we be able to produce all year round with the processing um, clusters
Yeah.
that the program is also um, putting in place. They'll also be able to process these products into forms that you can have it around for a much longer time, especially the highly perishable products like you have tomatoes, you have fruits that you see so much when is the season, and then when it's off season,
You see very less.
you see very little, or it gets to a point that you don't even see
See
it
at all.
at all. And there are so many things that you that uses this some of this produce as raw materials, but you can't have them at those points. And to make up for what Nigeria needs, a lot of them end up being imported. We
Yes.
still have Nigeria still imports tomato puree
Yes.
and so on, even though it's now um, it's off the is on the import prohibition list.
Yes.
But to make up for the local consumption, is still being imported. But if this can be processed in the season, and then they also are able to enable year-round farming of this, um, over time
Nigeria will become
Nigeria
self-sufficient
will become self-sufficient in this.
yeah.
And we also look at an area that this will benefit, not just it will provide more jobs.
It will.
Yes, because right now we see, since they farm these things occasionally, they farm it in season.
Yeah.
So at when that season ends, when the rainy season ends, a lot of the farming activities stops.
Stop right there.
Yes.
And then farmers go on holidays.
On holidays, and then others look for other things to do, and it leads to rural urban
Drift.
drift and all that. But if they are able to keep on producing, they will be engaged, economically engaged all year round. And of course, this has implication for um, productivity, more economic activities, more money for them, and of course, and that impacts on the nation's GDP.
Yeah, and it really it's timely. Um, Before I talk about the timeliness of this program, let's look at a little bit on the part of the country that really needs this most. We're talking about northern Nigeria, where we look at as the producer of food. Of course, the middle belt, the middle belt, such as Benue State, is the food basket of the nation. We look at Taraba, we look at some northern states also, where farming is done. Jos, farming is done there. All of these places, we get in, we get so much food from these areas. But these are the areas that actually need water.
Mhm.
The federal government recently, and I read that report 2 or 3 days ago, that there was this program that they are having to plant X million worth of trees, a number of
Okay.
trees.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is for northern Nigeria. Of course, that is to fight desertification. And with that fight going on, this technology also, or this use of energy,
Mm.
will also help
Yeah.
in making sure that these trees that will be planted are watered.
Mhm.
Yes, and once these trees are watered, they will grow. That's the soil. Once you mix the soil with water, and the place is not just altogether sandy, then that means there are nutrients in the soil and it will grow. So that is good news, and it's a timely information that this thing is going to happen. Let's just hope that it is put into practice, or not, it is
It
implemented.
is
Now,
implemented.
that is where I want to tackle you, because you are the mediator between us and the authorities who are making these pronouncements. Now, say, how feasible is this? How can we be sure that this is not just one of those political statements to make the electorate think that this is just to encourage people to vote for this party or that party? How implementable is this? What is the what's the level of what level of trust can you repose in this? I wouldn't say administration, because this thing supersedes the administration. It goes far beyond this the life of this administration, which is just about a year from now. But how much trust do you think this program has? How much do
We
you think it's going to be?
the program has just been launched,
Yes,
but of course we know that the REA before now has been
they have been working.
They've been working in providing rural Nigeria with electricity. So I believe they are bringing this up at this time because they feel they've gone far in electrifying the rural areas. Much work still needs to be done, but as they are going on in the rural electrification program, they have to combine it with other programs that ensures that the rural dwellers are able to take advantage of the electricity that is being provided to boost production. Hence, this coming up at a time like this. So, like the managing director at the launch um, also expressed that by the time we the media will be called back again, that there should be deliverables,
Okay.
that they would want for us to have deliverables, not just to still be in the planning phase or in the launch phase and all that. They would have, entered into the implementation stage. And what gives me hope is the fact that it's not just purely the government's thing.
Yeah.
It is funded by foreign partners.
Yeah, that's the point I wanted
Yes,
to accentuate, because
yes.
as I told you, I had a contact with Rural Electrification Agency not very long ago, and I got to know that they are being funded. They have this. Okay, there's a say vote of confidence from international
Mm.
partners,
Yeah.
because these guys, the international partners, are funding, lending them money, and sometimes giving them grants.
Yes.
Because
And
they have seen that this thing, they have confidence in them.
yes, and not only are they giving out the grants, they are also involved.
They are involved
They are
also.
involved in the various implementation process in the programs. So they are carried along in the process. So it's not just left for the REA to implement fully on its own. there's technical partnership and all that. So I believe that even if Nigeria as a government will not want to continue with it, but the technical partnership that they have with the foreign sponsors, the foreign partners, will ensure that it continues even beyond the life of this
Administration.
administration.
Yes, and I must state here also that this administration of, I'm not talking about the general administration, I'm talking about this administration of REA has been making some progress, and probably we need to give kudos to young people because that agency is being run mainly by
Yes, by,
young people.
by the youth.
Yeah. So let's hope that the REA will save the image of the young people when they deliver on this. And once that is done, we can be able to, at least for rural Nigeria, let's hope that we begin to produce more food because once there is food in the country, all of this crime you see going on, when people don't chop better food, they
Of course. And they have something productive, something that keeps them occupied.
Yes. So let's hope that this thing works and we'll have something to celebrate about. So that's the way we want to draw the curtain on today's edition of Energy Focus on Money Radio on Leadership TV. Mr. Anthony Uko has been here in the studio with us, and of course, once you are here, we have the best analysis in the energy sector. We say thank you very much for being here always. We say thanks to our producers also, but our biggest thanks go to you who follow us loyally on this program. Until tomorrow, we'll come with another edition of of Money Radio. We say have a great day. I've been your host, Case Hammond. Have a great day.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.